No, I have it tomorrow morning. I know.
Who was trouble with
Oh,
this?
there is a famous singer.
Oh, it's one thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Someone came knocking on our door a couple months ago when I was gone.
Well, they're probably all school board people at this point.
Always. Oh,
Oh, you're on.
okay.
You guys run it down?
Well, couple is before the last meeting.
Nobody else, listen,
My whole family got
these
COVID.
mics
Oh, we're
aren't
on.
on, are they?
Lori, I'm gonna ask you to do the
Microphones
pledge.
are not on.
We're on right now. Well, we are. We just turned ours on.
You're on Zoom here right now.
I mean, it's on.
We just turned ours on, so.
I hear yours.
Mhm.
Nobody wanted to.
That's why he asked.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, you're on.
We're good.
That's some riddles. Listen, I guess, for the
You
last.
guys ready? Okay,
Do it.
let's do it. Let me get this thing so I can scroll. Okay, so are we ready, Victoria? Okay, so let's call this regular meeting of the Historic Commission to order at about 7:05 PM. And if I can get a roll call?
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Fernandez,
Here.
Chairperson Maroto,
Here.
Commissioner Warstadt,
Here.
Commissioner Zubrowski.
Here.
I will note that although Commissioner Klinger did give his resignation yesterday, I don't know if the council has accepted it yet. So technically, he's not in the district, but he's hanging out someplace. So anyway, so let's get to the start of the meeting. Let's move to the salute to the flag. Commissioner Zaremski, can you lead us, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With liberty and justice for all. Sorry. So this is the part where we will read the purpose of our commission, which is to investigate, maintain, and catalog all historical information, documents, records, and pictures that would be of general interest to the city and its citizens, to compile records and recordings, to promote the keeping of a written historical record in the city in narrative form, to be an advisory body, and to perform volunteer services at the Redondo Beach Historical Museum. We kind of alluded to it already, but I do want to announce that Commissioner Klinger has moved out of the area and he has submitted his resignation to all the council members. He did say he wanted me to share with you that he may be making appearances in the public comment section. So we may be seeing him in the short future. There's a couple projects that I think he may want to have us still continue on that he started. So moving on to approve the order of the agenda. And what I would like to ask is that this commission move item J3, which is the discussion and possible approval of recommendation to the city council to add section 9.204 to the part right before section G, excluded consent calendar items. I'm also going to add, I believe that item J1 should actually be an item I because we tabled it and it should be part of that. And I think that needs to be done. And then we have a part in item K, just the part about the fire hydrant that I would like to move as the next item on the agenda right after we approve the order. So if I can, I'm going to make that my motion. If I can get a second, I would appreciate that.
Second.
Okay, Commissioner Warstadt, any discussion? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so what we're going to do then is we're going to start off by having Mr. Mendoza do a presentation of the fire hydrant that he's brought and give us a little bit of the history of where it was, what it is, and share with us information so that the city can appreciate more the gift that you've made.
I'm a retired employee of California.
If you can come to them, yeah.
Sorry. I'm a retired employee of California Water Service, and I previously worked with Hawthorne Water Company too. So when they acquired Hawthorne and they sent me over here. So I grew with the company and became a foreman because I knew how to repair those. So I was maintaining hydrants in Hermosa, Redondo, PV, Carson, Hawthorne, 7,500 hydrants, repairing and replacing and rebuilding them because nobody knew how to rebuild them. So I did. Save a lot of money in the company. Instead of buying new ones, rebuild one, paint it. So sadly, I had to stop working because I tore my shoulder and they told me, go home. That's it, you know? That's it. Okay, so in 2014, I was replacing those hydrants and I saw that one, but it was so coated with paint, I couldn't see what kind of hydrant it was. So I chipped the paint, it's a Keystone from 1910. I said, whoa, this is historical. So then I went and checked the books, and they said, yeah, it was installed in 1923 by Mr. Henry Huntington. He owned the water company in those years, and then he sold it to Cal Water, and in 1926, Cal Water started with Hermosa Redondo, and that's the story, and I kept that in my house for a couple of years. I said, what am I going to do with this? I thought to sell it, but I said, no, I want to do something. I want to say important, so I want to return it to Redondo, donate it to the museum because it's a very, very ancient hydrant, and I pulled it from Juanita and Serpentine out of that corner. And right now, I say, I bet if I donate it, the money is not really, for me, it's more important to keep it in the city what to install it. And I also have a spanning wrench, it's a solid brass Jones spanning wrench from 1940. That I use, and I want to donate it to. So to me, it's a pleasure. So in the future generations can see what a hydrant used to look like in those years. And it was still working, still in good working conditions.
Does anybody have any questions? No? You mentioned something about the San Francisco earthquake when I talked to you.
Oh, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
want to explain a little bit about that and how that?
In 1906, we had an earthquake in San Francisco, and the city burned down because of the height used to be 2 inches only. So the fire department could not pull enough water to put the fires. So they went to 2.5 inch and 4 inch fire hydrants. We deliver more water and bigger pipes. Now it's by code, by rules, by the law, they have to be 4 inch and a small ports for small fires. Because after the fires, they said, we can't have this again. So they changed all the game on the industry. And in the north, they had the Greenberg brothers doing hydrants. And the south, in LA, they made a company by Keystone Company to like the competitors. So they were doing theirs here and they were doing those over there. Competition, you know. So he's from LA, the spanning wrench from LA, and I'm sure they're gonna be here forever, even when we're all gone. So to me, it's real nice to give it to the city.
And you mentioned something about the uniqueness. How many hydrants do you believe of that quality are out there still?
Oh, it was only 2 left, because before you to grab a hydrant, they didn't care. It's true, on the dumpster, melt it. But I had 2. I said, no, we cannot melt this, guys. So I told my supervisor, I said, let me clean this guy, make it nice, and I put it into a piece of wood, and then we put it in the lobby. And when I finished with it, everybody went like, wow. So they had a small flag too on the bottom, and it says this hydrant from this location. They got 2 over there, different ones, but like this one, it's only 2 left. Wow. The one in my company, this one, no more.
Thank you for bringing it down. What colors, did they paint them certain colors
Okay.
back in the day?
In the beginning, they had white.
Okay.
They had red. Don't ask me why. Because it used to be red before, in the old days.
Right.
And then it was green. And the last coat was, last coat of white, on yellow.
Gotcha.
Maybe so I can see at night.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
But it was so thick that I had to chip it. So I had to chip it with my goggles, and
Yeah.
it took me a long time. And then the grinder, had to grind every little corner and everything. So it was kind of fun, keep me busy.
And you did mention that you mounted it on the maple wood,
Oh no, I got some redwood.
or redwood.
I went to the Sears Lumber and I said, hey, I want some real old wood. So he took me to this place where they have the old wood they don't sell. I said, I want that one. It's a redwood, the old redwood. So he got me 2 feet. I said, okay. And I clean it and varnish it. And I mounted on top of that to look nice.
And I did want to point out, we'll get to the blue folder. We actually have a picture of what it looked like about 2 weeks ago. And
Yeah, I have it here on my phone.
yeah, and it was ultimately going to be ready to be donated by the time of the city's birthday. And hopefully we will have that as part of this ceremony, unveiling it it should be in the museum anyway at some point by then. But he ended up saying, hey, I'm done. Let me bring it down. So we have it now here.
2 weeks, you said 2 weeks. I said, okay, I better hurry up. So one day I was like all day long. And then till finish.
And you said it was about 110 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can lift it a little bit, but I cannot move it around.
So I would suggest that we actually store it in the foyer room where all the pictures of the mayors are, and just let them figure out how to get it into the museum on a day that the museum will somebody will have access to open the museum.
I can leave my rollers and later give. It's easy to move around because it's heavy.
Okay, well, we have your address information so that we can call you and tell you when that's done at this point, but.
Well, I want to be in the celebration.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay, great. So we appreciate you doing all the work to
Beautiful.
make it pop like you did.
Looks great.
And sharing the history of it. And there's a lot of more history that's on a fire hydrant website that I found. So you can read up more about it as well.
It's interesting how they developed and who built in 1898, I think. It's the first hydrant.
Yeah. This one actually was patented in 1910, and it's an LA company that ended up having financial difficulties in the 20s. So we were able to at least pinpoint that information. So thank you very much, Mr. Mendoza. We greatly appreciate it.
I will pick up my roller whenever.
Okay, and we'll try to secure the Spanier and at least in the community services office as opposed to leaving it sitting in the city hall area.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so
Would you like
much.
to take pictures before he leaves?
Oh, yeah. Do you want pictures of it with us?
Yes. Okay.
Does everybody want to go down so we can? Sure.
That is so nice. Here we go.
Take the picture.
But you can take your picture.
Who's got a cell phone? Not me.
That's a cell phone.
I think you want you to use,
Oh.
probably everyone will want you to use theirs.
Let's do cell phone.
Maybe we should roll it in now, get a better view.
Oh, Roman over there, yeah.
Yeah, you're roll it to the middle.
It's just, oh yeah, this is easy. Okay, that was great. Okay, we'll get Mr. Mendoza in the middle.
One, two, three. 1, 2, 3. And then. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Thank you very much. When is going to be celebration?
You got the fire hydrant, didn't you?
Didn't chop any heads off.
Sure, let me know. It's a good thing I didn't bring my dog to the meeting today.
No problem. Okay.
Let's move on with the meeting. We are now moving on to the blue folder item, which is item E. There are 3 items in your blue folder. One is the Path of History Committee report. The other is the Albert B. Mendez Moment of History Committee report. And then there's a little set of pictures with regards to the fire hydrant we just received that shows what it looked like a couple weeks ago and the steps that it took to get it to that point. So can I get a motion to receive the blue folder items into our meeting packet?
So moved.
Okay, Commissioner Collin, is there a second?
Second?
Commissioner Fernandez, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so we received it, and we'll be discussing those in the appropriate spots in the agenda where it's actually related to. Okay, so now we move on to the consent calendar. There's 3 items on the consent calendar. 1 is an affidavit of posting. 2 is the approval of minutes from December 2021. And 3 is the Fund and Heritage Court Facilities Report. Does any commissioner wish to pull any of the items? Okay, I will then request that we pull item F2, the approval of minutes from December 21, 2022 for corrections, and F3, the Funds and Heritage Court Facility Reports for questions. So we're going to essentially be voting now on the affidavit of posting. Is there any public comments?
There are no public comments.
Is there anybody on Zoom for this meeting at this point?
There is no one on Zoom at this point.
Okay. If somebody shows up, just tell us so we'll go through that. Any discussion from the commissioners about the affidavit of posting?
No.
Okay, so then, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Okay, so we've approved the consent calendar item F1. Now we're going to move to item J3. When we did the order of the agenda, we moved that before G, excluded consent calendar. So we'll be getting back to those other 2 items shortly. And this is a proposal by staff to actually have, well, I'll let staff describe it better. So Mr. Margolis, do you want to talk about it?
Thank you. So while I was doing research about the history of the commission, I saw that in the bylaws, it stated that this commission was supposed to meet every other month. And then I went back and I looked, over the past few years to see how often you met. And I saw that for the most part, it was like 6 or 7 times a year. And it occurred to me that, well, and then subsequently, the city council passed an ordinance which required all of the commissions except public art to meet every month. So that would have been the reason why, starting in September of last year, you were meeting every month. And it occurred to me that perhaps you all wanted to go back to the schedule that you had before when you were meeting every other month. So that's why I put this on the agenda, to give you the opportunity to ask city council. I mean, if you're happy meeting every month and you think you have enough business to justify meeting every month, then you can just no one has to make a motion to do this. I mean, and then it just goes away. Or if you feel that you would like to go back to the schedule that you had, this gives you the opportunity to make that recommendation to city council.
Okay. I have a couple questions before we actually have the discussion. Did you run the language by the city clerk yet?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Did you run it by the city attorney?
Yeah.
No? Okay. And then One of the things you had sent me was your concept of how the museum would be staffed. Do you want to share that with this commission at this point?
Oh, you mean that in the months when you're not meeting, that you could use that time to be at the museum?
I thought you actually had people staffing the position at the museum like twice a month with different commissioners being required, because that was the email I got from you before you brought this up. Okay, well, great. So there's no, okay. So any discussion from the commission?
Okay, so instead of meeting every month, I think I like the idea that if we go back to every other month, the month that we don't meet, maybe we use that to show up at the museum and put in hours on the weekend. I mean that I kind of like that idea. Frees up time for us to actually get out to the museum and do what would be fun and open it up to the public rather than being here every month. That's just my idea. I like that.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think moving to every other month works. I think we're quite capable of handling the workload on an every other month schedule.
Okay, is that a question or is that a statement?
Just statement, I guess. Do I need a question?
No, I was just asking because you had it with the inflection. It sounded like it was a question.
Okay.
Okay, anybody else?
I like the idea of every other month.
Okay.
Sounds fine to me.
Okay. So I actually like the idea of every other month as well, but I do have a bunch of questions to ask. First of all, I think there's a fallacy in your premise that, first of all, that we would be using that time to volunteer to work a weekend at the museum. Having been the main volunteer over there, I don't see that happening. And there's still no staff person. So it looks like this concept is based on not having a staff person there at this point. And if that's the situation, there may be a problem with that. But if you recall from the last meeting when we had the discussion on the strategic plan, I had asked each one of you that were here, what would you do with 5 more hours if you had 5 more hours? And I did not get the impression that that's how you'd want to spend your time. What it does do is, so the theory in this is that we don't have any business to do at the meeting, and that's what I'm getting out of the report. And as most of you know, we do most of our work on the committee level. So the plus side is we'd be able to do a lot more projects because we would be able to do the work at the committee level and get things done. And there's more stuff to be completed. So the statement that, yeah, we'd staff the museum may be that our need is more to get our work done at the committee level and bring it back to the commission. We've actually had a lot of stuff done, so I'm really surprised that the statement is, hey, we're not doing anything. We've managed to rename the Ito Open Space, take that all the way through different commissions to the council. We've got the concept plan that's made it through different people. We've got 2 path of history markers installed and a contract for more signs. We've had the Cesar Hernandez concept be promoted up there. During the past, this time period goes back to 2019, and we've had 5 liaisons so far during that time: Joyce Maddox, Lori Kodke, Cameron Harding, Kelly Order, and Gary Margolis. And again, if you look at where it says canceled meetings and completed meetings, we have actually been able to now operate with a full complement of commissioners. So yeah, we should be able to do that. We've been the ones who've actually, not the city staff, that has actually been the one opening the museum. And And it's actually turned out to be one entire year of having the museum open through volunteers. We had 207 people come through, including the mayor, 2 councilmen, a city attorney. We've hosted a leadership Redondo class. One of the problems we had previously, and we're now down 2 commissioners, is we had quorum issues. We had meetings, a lot of these meetings that were canceled because of a lack of a quorum. And I know that, again, I don't want to use you as the example, but you have a tax season. This is your business. This is your family livelihood. I don't expect to see you a lot during the next couple meetings. I mean, I'm happy when you do come.
It will be unlikely for me to show up next month.
Yeah, so so I'm concerned that we're going to be all of a sudden down where we're not going to have a quorum. We were lucky to find somebody of the caliber of Commissioner Cullen to come and volunteer to be on this commission, but it took a lot of effort and asking around and
I
finally.
didn't volunteer.
What?
I didn't volunteer.
Okay, but it's traditionally we have not been at a full staff. So if we meet every other month, the concern is going to be that it may take 4 months to get something on the agenda. If you bring it up during member referrals and get a vote of the group, if we meet in 2 months, that'll be on the agenda. If we don't have a quorum, it won't be on the agenda till 4 months out. And that was part of the problem. So it does create a self-fulfilling prophecy that if the perception is we don't have work now, what's going to keep us incentivized to keep on bringing work to this body? And I know that I did make a request to have 2 budget items on the agenda. It didn't make it on this agenda for whatever reason, but that means it will probably come up again in the next cycle. We have not had an opportunity to involve ourselves with the budget for the last several years, partially because we're off cycle. And my understanding from talking with our former historical commissioner who's on budget and finance is that the budget cycle is actually gearing up, and March is when we start having to present it in order to be able to do stuff. So my concern is that we would have issues with that. I don't mind that because as you can see, I did a long, lengthy committee report, and 2 months gives me more time to actually turn everything into writing and longer reports. But this is where my question now. So in our city, we have a city charter, and charters govern ordinances, and ordinances govern bylaws, and bylaws govern standing rules that we come up during the meeting. So if a bylaw is inconsistent with an ordinance, such as the fact that our bylaw says our secretary is our staff person, we do not do it that way because the way that the ordinance is now written, that the secretary is going to be somebody on our body. So we've already been working with it. So I'm curious as to why you want to amend the ordinance, which involves changing a law rather than conforming the bylaw to the ordinance or not do anything because the ordinance controls. I'm also concerned, and this is actually the reason I'm very supportive of this kind of proposal, is it seems that you're overwhelmed in your work. You emailed me that you work on historical commission matters on Saturday and public art stuff on Sunday. And I don't think it's acceptable that you work 7 days a week in a job that should be only 5 days a week. And I have concerns that the city is overworking you. But I'm also concerned that you're not timely responding to emails. So if it's a work situation that's causing this proposal to be put up there, we need to figure out a way to either lighten your workload or get assistance from the city to help you do it so you don't have to spend 7 days a week and choose between doing laundry on the weekend versus doing commission work. And so that's my big concern about it. I'm also concerned that you didn't actually run it by the city clerk because I actually asked her why we are meeting every month as opposed to what the bylaws say. Because I think you're right, the bylaws say every other month. And I asked the question and I got a response back that this is there was something there. I actually would favor a hybrid kind of thing where we would meet every month, but we have the option, or the staff would have the option, if it turns out to be a time crunch, to actually say, we're not meeting that month. So for example, well, April's bad, but March, we'll take March as an example. So if we consistently meet every month and we decide, hey, we're not going to meet that month, that at least that's an option out there. And we did that with Christmas to a certain extent, that we asked the group if you want to meet during that month. And they said, no, I don't know what the city's protocols are with regards to if there's an ordinance that says that you have to meet every month to do it. But I think it's worth finding out if that is the situation, if there's some way that we can make it work. So any public comments?
No, but I do have a question for Gary. If we go back to and I've been on the commission for less than a year, but if we go back to having meetings every other month, and on that month where we're not here, what's the city's policy in terms of getting each member of the commission who's going to, be at the museum, getting us a key so that, we all have a key, and it makes it easier, for us to decide who's going to go and not have to worry about a key. I mean, is there a policy? Is there a prohibition? I mean, can you make it happen?
I'd have to look into that.
Okay, yeah, because I'd like a key. I mean, it makes it so much easier for me to say, okay, I'm going to go and I'm going to, be at the museum on this day and then not have to worry about it.
I think what they would probably do would be like what you do when you're trying to rent an apartment. There would be a lockbox somewhere on the building, and you would have the combination to the lockbox.
Like a realtor,
And then you would, I think they're setting it up so that people will have there's also an alarm system. So everyone would have to have their own code but I'd have to see if the city wants that many people.
Yeah, or maybe we just have one code and we all know what it is, and we go in there and, we do it that way.
So let me tell you how we got to where we are.
Yeah, how did we get there?
So if you go to like the senior center at Anderson Park, there is a staff person who's opening up the community center and is acting as a monitor. And that's what we had before over here. So the tradition in the city is there's a recreation person that's actually in charge of the position, and ultimately they open the museum up, they would lock the museum up, they'd be the primary staffing person. So if you wanted to volunteer, you would be able to go partner with the existing staff person. What ended up happening in our city is because we had a part-time position, they weren't able to fill it. And so the person who was doing it previously, I think he's absolutely phenomenal. He wasn't able after COVID to come back. So they haven't been able to fill the position. Gary did a great job of getting that item posted, so maybe we'll get somebody part-time. And we've been authorized to be open for almost 2 years now. And last year, because they couldn't get a regular staff person to open it up, they came up with a plan that said basically, I get the key and I get a code and I'm the one responsible. And I'm actually going to be turning over my key back to you today because I think the city needs to step up and actually do stuff. So I've actually suggested that rather than, if they can't find somebody, do what the senior services do, get somebody to do Saturday and somebody to do Sunday. And that way you can separate it out. You can get 2 different people doing it, the staff, because really it is a staff position and it is a paid staff position. So they haven't been able to fill it. They've had some leads. They've had some people go through the background checks, but at this point we've done it for a year doing that. We spent 6 months cleaning up the museum. So I think it's time that the city step up with it. And so again, I'm going to be returning my key at the end of the meeting, and hopefully the city will actually come to some sort of resolution on it. But I think it's great. You'll have to go through a background check, just so you know, because that's part, even though we're commissioners, we still actually have to do the fingerprinting and things like that.
I passed the background check with the state bar, I'm sure I'm not gonna have a problem down here, especially being a former councilman.
Yeah.
But I think since you're going to be turning the key in, the idea of having a lockbox there is a good idea, and getting it so that we can all have access, because Gary, it's gonna make it easier to have somebody on the weekend in the museum. And, whether we have a staff member there or we don't have a staff member, you've got members of the commission who are willing to staff the museum. And we have easy access. Then to me, it's going to make it easier to have that museum open on the weekend. So, I'm all for that idea. I like that idea. And then we don't all need to have a key. I would suggest, if you don't mind.
But we're going to take public comment, so why don't you step up to the microphone? We can actually take your comment now, but we do need to do it. And if you
I
can,
was thinking a solution for what
Well, why don't you-
are thinking about is to just get some kind of a digital lock that changes the password constantly, so it's not the same password all the time. Your idea is not bad, but if that password gets shared, somebody else can get it, and then so on. That's my suggestion. But I'm here to talk about something else really quick. I'll be really quick.
is that on the agenda or not on the agenda?
It's on my agenda. I'll be like 2 minutes. Not even at the
Well,
most.
okay, so we have this, if it's on this topic, you can talk about it. If
Yeah.
not, when we're finished this topic, you're welcome to have your 3 minutes.
Is
to
that
talk.
cool? Yeah,
Yeah, it's cool.
Let's
I
do
mean-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's actually, if we go down the agenda, right after we talk about the excluded consent calendar items, we'll have an opportunity. Okay, so,
So has everybody here on the commission now been cleared to get a key for the museum? Or has anybody run other than you?
You mean a live scan check?
Yeah,
I don't know if that entails me getting a key, but I've been background checked.
okay.
and so is Commissioner
What
Zaremski.
about Lori, did you?
You did.
And Eric, you?
I got checked for Little League coaching. So I don't know if I've gone through the city.
No, but for,
Yeah, I got the live scan check and all that
you
stuff.
did? Why hasn't anybody mentioned this to me?
We've mentioned at meetings, we need more volunteers, so
No, listen,
if you want to volunteer, I know you're going to be painting the fence pretty soon.
well,
but-
we're gonna talk about
Who
it.
told you that you needed to do that? The city clerk? How did you?
Yeah.
Kelly is the one who was organizing all that stuff.
It was my understanding that
So
if
you
you
think it
wanted
was
to be a
because they
volunteer,
wanted
not to be
volunteers
on this
rather than-
commission, but to be.
It's the risk
a volunteer.
management kind of thing. Also because Wednesday is the day that we have school tours and you're dealing with kids. So they want to make sure that everybody clears on that point too. So that's the risk management. That's the volunteer process here. And Kelly's actually was the one who's clear, I think, almost everybody except for Tanya, who hasn't made it through the process yet.
Right.
And they will pay for your background check. So
I mean, was Dan, when he was on the commission, was he also cleared?
Dan worked for our federal government agency, so he had a relatively easy time he had higher clearance than most people do.
So if you could maybe look into, getting us all access, and then if I have to do live scan or whatever it is, I'll do that.
So do you want to be the volunteer coordinator?
No, I don't want to be the coordinator. I want,
Somebody has to coordinate,
well,
so,
yeah, we get on the phone and say, hey, can you man it this week? Can you man it that week?
so are you the one who wants to do
I'll
it?
do it, yeah.
Okay, well, there you go.
Everybody has cell phone numbers.
We got a yes out of you.
Why can't you do it as part of the meeting?
I think it's just easier to get on the phone and say, hey, show up tomorrow, open it up, right? All this red tape, too much red tape.
Well, when I'm approached, it's always, hi, good afternoon, or good morning, and are you available? It's very nice and formal, and I do appreciate that.
I actually send out an email or text
Great.
in advance of a month and say who's available, and
Yes.
sometimes I get people, sometimes don't get people. If like the Charter Day, I was fortunate enough to have Jackie there as well. You've seen me ask during the meetings for people to step up and actually participate and help on things. So,
Yeah.
you know,
You called. Hi, good afternoon.
okay, but we're getting a little bit off topic. So the proposal is to go to the, I will tell you one other experience. When I first got on this commission, we didn't have quorums all the time, so I tried to do a bylaw change, and that's actually been tabled at the city council for over 2 years. So what the proposal is to go, we're going to have to go to the council, and that all that's entailed with it. And I understand since it's your proposal, you're willing to do that, but it does go through the city attorney and it does go through the city clerk. So
Did they give a reason why they went to one meeting every month?
yeah, it was actually before I even got on the commission. The only commission that doesn't meet every month is the Public Arts Commission.
Okay.
And what's the proposal, as I understand it, is we're going to be on the off month. So the Public Arts will meet one month, we'll meet the other month. We're actually not following our bylaws because we're supposed to meet on the fourth Wednesday of the month, which is now Public Arts.
Right, but I would propose that you do meet on the 4th in the months when the public arts, so that we can free up the 3rd Wednesday for some other purpose.
Okay.
So every 4th Wednesday would either be you or public art.
Okay, well, again, that's something that the city council is going to ultimately have to decide what's going to go on. But I think the city clerk will also get involved because they were supposed to come up with uniform bylaws for all the commissions. And I know that they've talked at the council meeting about having codes of conduct and things like that with regards to the commission. So it's something that I assume you've talked with Cameron about. So you guys are going to be the ones that are going to have to pitch it to the council.
Well, and if I may, I would add that, I mean, your point about not having taken the wording to the city clerk or the city attorney is well taken. So if you do make a motion to move forward with something like this, I think you should probably add, or whatever appropriate language the city attorney recommends. So if the city attorney doesn't, this is the way that the public art exception is carved out. So I just copied that. But if they would decide that they don't want to amend the ordinance, they'd rather do this or they'd rather do that, just to provide them with the opportunity to create wording that would accomplish your goal.
Okay. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Anybody in the room? Okay, anybody from Zoom?
There are no public comments regarding this.
Okay, so does somebody have a motion to move forward with this?
Motioned.
Okay, what is your motion? Because we just heard something that you may want to add to it.
I would motion to present this to the council to move to a meeting every other month, based on whatever language they would recommend.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, so it passes, and do your thing. And again, just remember, you need to step up. If we're doing this every other month, you guys need to step up so we can show the council that we're interested.
I'm writing down names and telephone numbers, so I'll be calling you.
Good. Okay, so now we move, you can pass this down to Gary. I'm turning in my key, and that's going to be an official thing. Okay, so now we'll move to excluded consent calendar items. Actually, well, let's see. Yeah, we have to do excluded consent calendar items first. First is the approval of minutes, and I hope you had an opportunity to review those minutes. Any comments from the commissioners? Okay, I have some changes that need to be made to the minutes, and I made a sheet so that the clerk can actually have something in writing on some of these changes, so that I don't have to take fervious notes. If you can pass that down. Okay, so what I've presented is on item F3, that it read that Commissioner Klinger gave an oral report regarding the moment in history, which he discussed Stormy Barber Shop on Artesia Boulevard, which has been in the city for many decades and has a tribute to the RUH football team. And just so you know, I listened to the recordings, and that's where these numbers are coming from. In H1, which is not on the sheet, Matt Kilroy introduced himself and gave a history of himself in the community, which is what he did. And on item H1 of the substitute, and this is the gentleman that's sitting in the audience over there, it should read, a member of the public discuss historical information about wineries, churches, missions, and Spanish ships in the area. In addition, in H1, the staff reported that there were Zoom issues related to accessing the meeting. And then where it says a motion by Commissioner Klinger, it should read something to the effect that a motion by Commissioner Klinger, second by Commissioner Collin, to move Zoom public comments on non-agenda items after item J2, and the motion carried unanimously. In item J1 regarding the committee reports, bringing history outdoors, under the path of history, it should include the language that Commissioner Collin presented pictures related to the path of history dedication. The way it reads now, it's unclear what was received with regards to the photographs. Under Bringing History Outdoors Committee, the Ito Family Open Space Subcommittee should include something that a concept design plan for the park has been approved by the Public Arts Commission, the Historical Commission, and the Recreation and Parks Commission. The plan is going to be presented to the City Council as part of a capital improvement plan project as part of the 23-24 budget this summer. Under strategic plan, it says basically Commissioner Klinger was talking about art on walls, but it should be clear what he was talking about. And he thanked the staff for the report and noted a lot of time and effort went into it. He also suggested having art along the walls of certain rooms in the historic library and noted that donations can be suggested and marketing can take place as well. Also on the strategic plan, before the public comment section, Chairperson Morocco also noted that one of the motivations of having a strategic plan is to help prioritize what to do with money we have been allocated in the current budget, whether we need to make any midterm adjustments or request for additional funding, and help develop next year's budget. And in between item J3 and K, we need to make a reference that item F1 was recalled to include any Zoom public comments on non-agenda items. There being none, item F1 was closed. In item K, there's an incomplete list of all the staff referrals that I was making. It should read in the first sentence, Chairperson Morocco noted that something reminiscent of a red car might be a good theme for public art at the soon to open new transit center. He then requested that Mr. Margolis speak with the Public Arts Commission about a possible Patrick Vogel sculpture of the red car as part of the public art display at the transit center. If so, we could also suggest having a path of history marker featuring the red car also installed at the transit center. And finally, at item K, in addition, Chairperson Morocco also suggested we have a protocol developed for handling, moving large items in the museum so it can create additional wall space and display newly donated material. That's the summarized version, and as I said, I gave copies to staff so they can include it. Any discussion? Any public comment? Any motion to accept the minutes as amended? Commissioner Cullen, is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zaremski? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so the minutes are approved for December as amended. And just out of curiosity, do we have the January minutes yet? Oh, is there a reason that's not part of this packet?
There wasn't time to review it.
Okay. Okay, Funds and Heritage Court Facilities Report, I pulled that as item F3. So I'm a little confused, given the discussion we had in January. You had presented during the January meeting that we had $10,777 in the combined museum project fund and donation funds. So the number went up. Did we get additional funds put in there, or how did the number go up? And I guess if the number we talked about was $11,143 available balance, how did the number go down?
I'm confused too.
What?
I'm confused too.
Okay, so is this a reliable number we can use?
I doubt it.
Okay, and then I did have a question about the donation funds. Is that my $1,000 August 2022 donation for the Path of History?
I don't know.
Do we know if that's been moved over to the CIP fund?
I don't know.
Okay, who should we be asking in the city for that information?
I don't know the answer to that either.
Okay, where's the information coming from?
The city's financial management software.
Okay, and then there's a comment about the Morale Houses to be open the first and third Saturday of each month from 11 to 3 p.m. And there's some dates in there. We know from the charter day that they weren't open. Has their heater been fixed so they can be open?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay. When you do all this coordinating, you may want to talk to the Morale House people, because it would be nice for both of them to be open at the same time.
Okay, who's the person in charge over there?
It's Linda Oust.
Okay, is she on a commission?
No.
Just part of the Historical Society?
Yep. She's the facilities person for the Historical Society.
Oh.
Okay.
Is she a city employee?
Nope. He used to be a city employee, but she's never been a city employee.
She's just like a volunteer, like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Okay, so can I get a motion? Well, is there any public comment on the facilities report? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion to receive and file the facilities report?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so we're receiving and filing that. Is there somebody I should be talking to in the city to get a clearer number for next month?
Gary and I are going to look into that. Any introductions to former historical commission members who have handled the budget, that would be great to speak to them as well.
Okay, that was, I think I gave you his contact number, right?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
But we'll make some time to sit down and try and parse these out so we can find out what's going on.
Okay, it's Commissioner Conroy, just so you know, and I think I did send an email.
Oh, sure.
Okay, great. So now we move to the item, public participation on non-agenda items. And this is where the public gets an opportunity to comment on any subject that does not appear on the agenda for action. The section is limited to 30 minutes. Each speaker will be afforded 3 minutes to address the commission. Each speaker will be permitted to speak once. Written requests, if any, will be considered first under this section. Do we have any written requests?
There are no
Okay,
written
so you
requests.
wanted to address this group?
Yes.
And again, come to the microphone because otherwise I won't pick it up right away.
You guys are okay? Yes, sir. Thank you. Hi, So my name is Juan Gabriel Velasquez Mendoza, and my legal name right now is Johnny Velasquez. I changed it here when I came to this country in about my third grade year of school. My original name was Juan Gabriel Velasquez Mendoza, Johnny Velasquez. I'm also known as Santo Velefante, Santo Juan Gabrielito, El Niño de Dios. Yo. I am also a precog. I grew up around here in LA. This is not a manipulation, by the way. Went to Banning High, was an IT professional for most of my life. Just a little bit of history about myself more. I almost drowned here at Avenue C to confirm my story, my position. I was kidnapped for most of my life by different entities and communities, which is a different story and part of my life that I don't want to get into right now. And this is part of the reason why all these extra unexpected activities and visitors have been happening here in mainly Los Angeles and throughout the planetary systems, corporations and governments, for if anybody has been aware of, not aware. And this is all tied in together. As far as my position here on planet Earth, I have produced and created every single piece of technology that you see, that you're using right now, that you're touching, that you're seeing. That's my position in the universe, because I am the owner of the universe. And that's not a joke. I know that sounds a little bit far-fetched, but it's not. I am. And my position in the universe is very important, that I continue to be successful. And the reason why is because it's just a very long explanation for the most part, but I am the most important entity in the universe. And for that reason, along the way, I just found out my position in the universe because of my kidnapping and all that stuff that happened along the way. But ever since I've just came out of my shell and came to my senses and found out what was happening, my position, I've cured all the issues that you were hearing in your brains, in your cerebral systems that were transmitting voices and sounds and all this nonsense. That's me. I've took care of all those issues. And I'm still working on everything else that all these other issues are happening. Right now, I've instructed everybody across the planet to make sure to produce YouTube content video for me so I can see their communities and see what's happening there. Because I noticed that parts of Africa, parts of India, parts of China, they were all infiltrated by these visitors. And these are extraterrestrial, if not from planet Earth, this planet Earth, since they're not of this entities. And I am aware of all these creations because there was some manipulation with my powers and my abilities of how I can explain that maybe in another chapter of my life. But right now, the crucial point in my position right now is to make sure that I keep you guys successful and for not destroying yourselves, because the coronavirus was part of this manipulation of my kidnapping to try to destroy the human race, if not most of it, all of it.
Time.
Yeah, that's about it for right now. And as far as my work that I've done so far, I've gained complete access of the DNA strand. I've empowered, depowered the blood and white cells, blood and red white cells. And invented a technology for children to have less access to
Sir?
pornography.
Sir, the commission would have to allow you more time.
I
Because 3
just
minutes.
have a few more lines. I've also invented a technology to prevent child molestation, rape technology for women to have inside their system so that men cannot rape them. And if they do, it's going to be a really aggressive situation for the man. And the reason why I'm doing this is what I explained for you as well. I've also upgraded the Espiritu Santo to the Eno, then the Tes, then now the Zillo Santo. And my goal now is what I said, is to keep you successful, and that's it. I don't have any time for questions, but I do need for this to be transmitted all over the planet and everywhere else so that we all are in the same page if you guys want to continue to be successful with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mendoza. Okay. And normally we can't respond anyway from this. Facts. Anybody else would like to use 3 minutes? Sir?
No, we have someone
We
who
have
submitted
one,
this.
there's a person,
Oh.
Ms. Kathy Perry, would like to speak.
Okay, I thought you said you didn't have any written notes. Okay, that's fine.
I thought you meant on.
No, I go by the cards first, and usually you hand them up to the chair to look at.
This is the first for me.
Okay.
Now I know. Thank you.
That's going to be something to follow that one, but let's see here. I'm Kathy Gonzalez Caperi. I was asked to attend this meeting to say a few words about myself and to why I want a placard of my family in the path of history. I'll try to make this short. We have 3 minutes?
Yes,
3 minutes,
please.
okay. I have so many stories to
Can you put the
tell.
clock up? That
I
would
hired a
help.
writer to assist me during COVID to write all my memories growing up in Redondo. I have most of my notes, about 100 pages and about 50 pages, but now comes the fun part of putting them in order. If any of you have been in Redondo more than 50 years, I came here from Hermosa. I was born at Stark Haven Hospital in Hermosa Beach on Pier Avenue, so I moved to Carnelian across the street. My family lived there till about 1950. I was 4 years old, and I have 7 siblings, 7 aunts, 7 uncles, all lived in Redondo area. If any of you have been here over 50 years, which you probably haven't, you might know some of them. The Gonzalezes, the Fishers, the Schwartz, the Phalens, Castilians, to name a few. They all lived on Irena, Carnelian, Elena, Juanita, Avenue A, Avenue B, Avenue C. We love Redondo. It's a wonderful city, the best weather. In a book published by Alex Arian, excuse me, he documents my grandfather, Mauro Gonzalez, Mexican Americans in Redondo and Hermosa Beach. My grandma and grandpa were the first ones to come to Redondo Beach in 1905. I was explaining to Gary Margolis back in, when I saw him, I think that was December, I can't remember. Many landlords back then didn't want to rent to him because he was a foreigner. So he stayed with a relative and saved money to buy his own land and build his own home on Arena. Excuse me. And he continued to buy lots and homes so that his children would never face that problem. He worked as an electrician and a surveyor and helped install the early electrical lines for the operation of the old Pacific Electric cars. He was a fun guy. When I was 4 in 1950, he was babysitting me and we took the bus. He didn't drive, working for the Pacific Electric. They gave him passes to go on the train, on the bus, and even the boat to Catalina.
1 more minute.
Okay. So
Just so you know, if you need more time, I'm happy to do a motion to extend the time.
okay, I'm sorry I'm taking so long. Okay. I'll try
worry about
to
it.
hurry it along here. Okay.
It's interesting
Okay.
history.
So we went to Hollywood Park, and then he loved to bet on the horses with the white feet. I don't know why. I always asked my dad why, and he didn't know either, but he was a fun guy. My father's, Jesse's cousin and his family saved the old Riviera Beach Club from collapsing into the Pacific Ocean in the severe storm. He owned Gonzalez Topsoil, which was right behind the post office. Where are we? Right over here, I think. He graded most of the land for the multitude of condominiums on the Esplanade, which in 1975, Redondo was kind of nicknamed Redondo Beach, unofficially. He excavated all the land there and also the land for Little Company of Mary Hospital. They used to have a picture of him with his shovel in the lobby there. I don't know if it's still there or not.
Time?
Can I get a motion to extend the time for about 3 minutes? Okay, Commissioner.
So motion.
Okay.
Hernandez. Second, Commissioner Reichstadt. All in favor? Okay. All opposed? Okay, go ahead, you got 3 more minutes.
Okay, oh, thank you. I have a lot more to tell, but going forward, I know you folks have an agenda to follow for tonight. So I'll try to wrap this up quick. Most of my family went to Redondo, including my dad. If you have one of these books, The Alumni, you can see all the pages. They're all related to me somehow.
And Kathy, you'll want to talk about the plaque.
The plaque, yeah. We donated, I'm getting to the, sorry about that, I was getting to that. In early 2000, Maggie Healy and I, City of Redondo, I think you said she retired by now, but so we were the closest runner-up. Her family came in 1945 and mine in 1905. So we got our name on the plaque of history, which was put down by the Redondo Beach Lagoon. Then sometime the dive and surf team was replaced, the plaque was removed, and the dive and surf statues were put there. So my polite squawk is, I don't like it being put on the fence, nor does any of my family or friends, just because we feel like it should be like in a better place somewhere. So that's the purpose of my coming and requesting that of you. I know what I'm proposing will be resolved, and here's thanking you in advance for all your kind considerations. With warm regards.
Thank you so much.
We can't comment on what you're saying, but if you want to stick around for the committee reports, we are going to be talking about the marker itself.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And by the way, his grandfather is also in the book that you showed.
Oh,
My cousin wrote that book.
okay, all right, Arian? Yeah, you know Saavedras then.
I know them all.
I just had lunch with her yesterday. Yeah, Sally, yeah. Small world. Thank you.
Okay, if you have to stick around. Any other people to turn in a card? Victoria?
There is no one else.
Okay. Do you,
Oh, okay, just sit down.
sir, do you want to talk to us again this month? Okay. Do you want to share with us? Okay. Okay, so is anybody on Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom.
No e-comments?
No e-comments.
No candidates calling in? Okay, so I'll do what I like what Councilman Nierenheim does, going once, going twice. Okay, so public comment is now closed, and we will move to items from the previous agenda. And as I said, because we tabled the discussion on the strategic plan, that should be one of the items from the previous agenda. And so we'll deal with that strategic plan. As you may recall, the last month we had the discussion. I had asked each one of you how many hours a month you were devoting to working at the museum, and asked you the question of if you had 5 more hours in your day, what you would be doing. I think Commissioner Zaremski, you're the only one who wasn't here. So if you want to share your views on, how many hours you spend at the museum, and how many, if you had 5 more hours, what would you be doing?
I've been to the museum once or twice, and I'm not prepared to answer the other question.
If you had 5 more hours in your month that were just like completely free and you could do something for this commission, what would you do?
I'm not quite sure.
Okay.
But if we gave you a key, that would make it much easier, right?
Okay. Okay, so As I mentioned in my correction of the minutes, which I mentioned it last month, this is really an opportunity for us to figure out what our priorities are. I think that presents some interesting concepts that we need to work with. And my suggestion at this point is that we, once again, table it to the next meeting. And what I will do in the interim is, if the city attorney tells me I can't, but I think I can segregate it out, I will sit down with each one of you and take these ideas that we've talked about, takes the ideas that are been in this draft plan, and see if we can come up with something that has buy-in from all of you. We've discussed, but we really keep on going around in circles with not much more than what we've had before. I know each one of you has read it, so maybe the next step is to actually sit down with each one of you individually. I'll break it out by sections that you actually have said that you're interested in. And so that way we don't cross any Brown Act stuff about talking about other things and concepts. I think that may work. Do you have any thoughts on that, Mr. Margolis?
Well, I do, but I'll leave it to the lawyers to.
I mean, you did a fantastic job putting the draft together.
My understanding of the Brown Act and the scenario that you're describing is that if you there are two types of serial meetings that are illegal, right? One would be if you call him and he calls him and he calls her, and right, but you're all talking about the same thing and trying to build consensus. So that's called a serial meeting, and it's illegal. But I think the other type is what they call a spoken hub, where like you would talk to her and then you would talk to him, and then so in any given conversation, you're only talking to one other person. But if the cumulative effect is to create consensus around an item, it's probably not kosher. So it makes sense to me to do that kind of thing here at a meeting. I mean, like the way you started last week or the way you started today seems like the right way to go about doing it. If you want to have, a special meeting where you only talk about your interests and why you're on the commission and what you would like to be doing, that would be fine. It seems to me what you described would be to build consensus about the strategic plan one way or the other, which is an agenda item. So I think it probably would not be the right thing to do.
I think you've encapsulated what the Brown Act's about. What I was proposing is actually everybody here has said that they're interested in one aspect of that they want to be in charge of developing their strategic plan component. And all I'd be doing was sit down with them on that component itself. So there wouldn't be overlap or anything like that. It would just focus on, curating. Jackie says she wants to do the curating of the collection. So we would talk about her concepts of what should be involved with that. Acquisitions is Commissioner Cullen, it's the same thing. I have Commissioner Fernandez with budget, so we'd be just focusing on that. And at least, because we've done this now for what, 6-7 months now, and it is like pulling teeth from you guys as far as, getting people to share their views on some of the ideas in the plan. So I like the idea of having a working meeting. I think that's great, but I think it's at this point, we need to take some of the ideas, put them in the areas, and get the people that has said that they want to be the leader on it to come forth and explain what the long-term vision, the short-term vision, the medium-term visions within those specific spheres that they've identified, which don't necessarily overlap.
So do you folks feel like you would be more comfortable having that discussion one-on-one with the chairperson outside of a meeting than like in a workshop where you all do it together? That's what you're saying, right? That you might get a better result if you did it one-on-one outside the meeting?
Yeah, my initial thought was to go to Commissioner Zaremski and say, okay, we're going to bang this out as far as doing it, because her husband actually probably would also be part of that discussion at some point, and see if we can come up with a plan that at least, I think if Commissioner Ramsey gets a buy-in on it, it sounds like it will have at least a larger prospect of everybody else here. I'm trying to be very jealous of Mr. Commissioner Fernandez's time because he's got the tax stuff going on, but I think I've heard, we've been trying to get the ideas out, and ultimately I'm hoping that we can put something down on paper. I am seeing the city attorney tomorrow, so I will be talking with him about what, how we can make it work. If we need a meeting in the museum, for example, to as a workshop to do this, I think that would be good too. And maybe that's a day to open it up after we have this little, or after we open it up to the public, to have them sit down and actually go through the collections, because there's some things that we obviously still have open on the table. So I'm just suggesting that we try something new to get more discussion out at the meeting. A strategic plan is just a plan. If the people that are the stakeholders don't do the buy-in to it and don't embrace it as their own, it's just a piece of paper that has a bunch of words on it. So I'm hoping that, again, each one of you's already expressed an interest in certain areas, that we can actually come up with something for short-term, medium-term, and long-term that would actually, I think Mr. Margolis has done a great job laying out some really good things, and I've joked with him about this is his work plan that he really wants to do, but it's not his place to do it. It's our place to come up and figure out what we can do to make your job easier, but also to, it's just to get more involvement out of it. I mean, we're down 2 commissioners, unfortunately, but hopefully we'll see people come in, and hopefully we can excite them as well and get them into the process. So that's what I'm proposing. If you guys want to talk about it today, we can talk about it. But my experience is I throw out questions to get some answers, and then nobody wants to contribute anything else towards actually coming up with where we go with this. So I throw that out to you, Al.
Another possibility might be to pick one section of it and maybe just have a discussion about the facility, or just have a discussion about collections, or just have a discussion about outreach.
Well, the one that I focused on last time was volunteer involvement so we can get the museum open and staffed. Yeah. And I'm glad that Commissioner Cullen has stepped up and said he'll be the volunteer coordinator in a different kind of capacity, but at least we're getting in the right direction. So to me, it's more important to get that museum open so we can get the kids in there and let them see the museum so they can do the reports for 3rd grade. And you've been there when the kids are coming through and they're like excited about it, and you share some of the stories, and that's what you seem to like the most, is sharing the stories and hearing the stories. So
we're gonna need to get that bathroom open in that museum if we're gonna get kids in classrooms to come and visit. I mean, you can't expect those kids to go all the way, down to the other end of Dominguez Park if they have to use the restroom. And we've got to get it open. There's no reason why it can't be open for the public. We just need to make it happen.
we'll have a discussion on that too when we get to staff referrals. I mean, I think it's, at this point, it may be an interesting thing, but I did have Commissioner Warstadt take a look at it and give me her thoughts as a professional property person. So we can get to that during member referral items. But in the meantime, getting back to this, any thoughts about how we can move this process forward?
Well, I think I've talked enough about, my goal is to get the facility looking the best that it can. And we've been out and we've looked at, for example, the fence that surrounds, Heritage Court. We've talked about how much nicer it would look if we painted the metal fence that's all rusty.
So I did talk to Public Works about that, and that fence, the finish that's on it now is something special so that it oxidizes in a certain way and doesn't rust, and it's not supposed to be painted. So if it would be painted, then you would have to, maintain that kind of a thing, over and over again. So they specifically bought or installed this fence that you're not supposed to paint.
That's all rusty. Okay, so doing the touch-up is not that big of a deal. I mean, you want that facility looking as clean as you can get it. You were there the one day when we noticed that up on the trellis, there's a lot of dry rot.
Yeah, and they thought that was a great idea to fix that.
Okay.
It would just be a matter of probably putting it into a capital improvement project.
I think we're getting off topic a little bit.
All right. I mean, yeah.
I don't mind being here till
Okay.
10 o'clock at night, but
All right, but I just want the facility to look really, really nice. And if it means we paint the fence and then we go back and we do the touch-up, okay, because the rusted fence out there doesn't look so great right now. And if we have members of the commission, who will volunteer time, an effort to go out and paint it and make it look nice and to maintain it, then I don't see why we can't do that. Same thing with the trellis work. Paint the trellis work so that it's really bright, so that when people drive by or come by, it looks really, really nice. We don't need the staff people, putting a kibosh on everything, because that's just an excuse for them not to have to go out there and do it.
okay, let's get back to the topic about what do we do with our strategic plan. I've made my proposal.
Not directed to you, Gary, because you're not Public Works, right?
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay, so I've made my proposal to sit down with each one of you on the areas that you said that you were interested in and see if we can come up with something that you have buy-in. And then when we talk at the next meeting, you can be the one leading the discussion on your area that I'm just going to be facilitating. I'm not going to try to impose, what I think it is. I want you to be involved and stay involved in the process. Okay, so any thoughts on that, Commissioner Worstadt? No? Okay, and as my backup, I will go talk to Commissioner Zaremski and see if we can make something happen with this plan. Or at least we'll get that thing moving. Okay, so I guess I'm looking at a motion to table this for the next meeting then.
Okay, so moved.
Commissioner Cullen, any second?
Second.
Was that Mr. Margolis? Oh, Commissioner Zaremski. Any public comment?
There are no.
No Zoom comments?
Yeah.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling till the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay. And just for the agenda purposes, this should probably be an item I as opposed to anything else. Okay, now we move on to our committee reports. And so I should ask, do you have any committee reports, Commissioner Collin?
On acquisitions, only that the new cabinet was delivered to the museum and it looks beautiful. So I'm happy that we got it there.
Okay. Good work. Did you get reimbursed yet?
I haven't submitted anything yet. I've been
Okay.
busy.
Great. Anything from you, Commissioner Fernandez?
Not at this time.
Okay, Commissioner Worstadt?
I bought those chairs for the
What?
porch. I bought the chairs.
You
for
bought the
porch
chairs?
today. They're in my car right now.
Okay, so why don't you tell everybody what your concept is and what the chairs are for?
So I know we've talked about it in the meeting, so it's just to add a nice area for people to feel welcome and when they
have lots to share with us, so they can sit in the chairs on the porch and just make it a little more down home and comfortable. And I feel that from that perspective, people stay a little longer too. And then while they're sharing those stories, a lot of times they'll start thinking of close friends, colleagues, former classmates. They really start to open up a little bit more. And so it's not just for me to sit down on it. It's definitely a welcome little storyteller type of
Are they rocking chairs?
atmosphere. No, they're not. They're fold-up chairs. They're lightweight, but these have armrests, so I thought that was kind of important, and they're cute.
Can you get rocking chairs?
Anything else? Okay, Commissioner Zaremski, any committee report?
No.
Okay, so let me go through some of the reports that I have. Volunteers, I think we are now up to 6. We're waiting for Tanya to get on board. So you may want to keep an eye out, or at least talk to Kelly about what the process is, because I understand she submitted the application online already. Physical plant, I don't know if we've ever had a work order put in for the screens that are ripped that are in the research room, but there's 2 screens from the front that have holes in it. So that's something that needs to be dealt with. The broken display case, is that in storage, or what happened to that? Because I know when we were there on Saturday, it wasn't there.
I didn't even know that it had been taken out. I don't know.
It wasn't there. The floor was showing which way they took it out, but.
I did request that it not be destroyed, but I don't know.
So who would we talk to? Mr. Klein?
You mean if you were going to personally talk to somebody?
Yes, if they haven't told you, then
I think
would Jack know? Because the storage would be in the Performing Arts Center.
I think you should probably talk to Cameron.
Okay.
And ask him that question.
Okay. Okay, exhibits, displays. So we had our Charter Day celebration, and it was a nice temporary display. I'm going to be exploring whether the city clerk wants it, or maybe the library would want the display, since the library is open more hours than the museum is. Let's go to the Albert P. Mendez moment in history, which is one of the blue folder items. So this is a standing thing. I was surprised it wasn't on the agenda, but it's something that we voted on to include in every meeting. It talks a little bit about history of the community, so that people that tune in can actually learn a little bit about the history of the city as well, and we can learn about the city's history. So this one's about Aviation High School, and we actually have some pretty distinguished alumni that came out of that school. But what you have in the moment of history is the text that's going to probably be on the Path of History marker that goes up for Aviation High School. So if you have any comments or thoughts on it, please let us know. We have our markers being written by a librarian, so I'm not the one who gets to write them. I'm not the one who gets to edit them. They all get edited by the director of the Community Services Department. He's the one who decides if it's a go or no go on it. But that's what's on the Albert P. Mendez moment in history. I'm hoping that it does show up as a consent calendar item at the next meeting, because that's what we did vote on as a group.
The next commission meeting?
It was back in September of 2019. It's been on the agenda ever since.
Wait, you hope it shows up as what?
As a consent calendar item, like it has been doing since 2019.
Oh, I thought.
But
Okay.
it's not on this consent
No,
calendar.
I misunderstood what you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now we get to the path of history, and I want to focus on you. So I will make available to you, if I get your email address, a copy of the written report that I submitted. We have 7 markers that are up in the community. We got a donation today for the old City Hall Library and Firehouse. That one's already been designed. It's just that we didn't have enough sponsors on it to actually put their names on it. So now we've gotten another one from one of the people who actually started the project. And we are hoping to get a couple more, and we should be able to go to fabrication at some point on that. What we found out is that fabrication is a little cheaper if you have two done rather than one done. So Aviation High School is in pre-design. You see the text over there that we've discussed before. We voted to add North Redondo back in 2021 to our list of places that we're going to put path of history markers. And if those of you who were around for that time, one of the goals was to have markers where there was some physical resemblance so people can look at it and say, okay, I can see that this is part of it. So if you look at the Ainsworth staircase, you look down, you see the staircase over there. And so Aviation High School does have some of the facilities over there, and people go to the Performing Arts Center, so it's nice. We have money left in the contract to use, and this is a question for Mr. Margolis. I sent you a budget request to allocate some of our $10,000 that the city gave us, which was supposed to also be decided between the path of history and other projects. We haven't spent any of our allocations, and we're in a process of actually requesting more. So, or at least I assume you're going to be the one requesting it, because I don't know if we'll meet before that request has to come in. Is there a reason that you didn't have that allocation in this agenda?
So my understanding is that in order to add an agenda item from a commissioner, that there needs to be a motion to do that, and you have to approve that at a meeting.
Okay, so if we go through with this proposal of amending the ordinance, we're going to be talking about a 4-month period. We're going to be out of this budget year and we wouldn't have spent anything. You had the discretion to add it. I don't know why you didn't add it, but I will bring it up then as a member referral item. But we have a contract that we need to fulfill. Yes. It's a collaboration between you and me when we're doing these agendas. I didn't make a comment yet. I'm going to make it when we get to the staff referrals. We passed, as we saw in the December meeting, through the process that you described, a thing that Commissioner Klinger had said agendized, never got agendized. Didn't get agendized for January, didn't get agendized for February. So this was something that we've talked about spending, how do we spend the money, the priorities. So it's actually consistent with what is in the manual. So it should have been at least on the agenda. Now it's going to be through the process that you describe. And again, we're going to we haven't spent anything. We haven't allocated anything. We really need, if we're asking for money, we need to have some sort of plan on it. And that was a proposal to do the plan. Let's talk about the markers itself. So there is on the fence of Seaside Lagoon, the marker that you were talking about, the Lightning Racer one, which was brought up to staff back in December, and Mr. Margolis did reach out to Public Works with an alternative location. I don't know if you ever got an answer from Public Works on whether they agreed with it or not, but you brought it to my attention. I sent you in December about 8 different locations, and anytime you want to walk over there and look at it, the different locations by Seaside Lagoon with street visibility, I'm happy to set aside time to do that with you.
Sure, I'm free next week.
Okay. But there's lots of places the commission doesn't ultimately have the decision power on it. As Mr. Margolis has shown, it's a staff decision. It's Public Works and the staff person. When we did the Vincent Park marker, Public Works was there in force, Mr. Margolis was there in force. I was there as a scout suggesting places. The same thing when we did the Ainsworth Court step. So at this point, if Public Works wants to work with us, I think it can get up relatively quickly. We actually bought 4 stands for it. So there's no question that a stand could be put into place. It's just a question of when is that location going to be picked? And coming to us, yeah, I can tell you, I think I know some really great places to go, it could go into, but we as a commission don't have that decision power. It's really somebody in the city, you know, you have to, there may be water lines underneath. That was the problem we had with Vincent Park, or there may be a coastal commission involved. That was what we had with Ainsworth. So, and we have with the old firehouse, we don't even have a street anymore. So it's really, you got to get the coordination, and it's really at a staff level. And I don't know why Public Works did not respond to Mr. Margolis last year, but there are some good alternatives out there. And again, you just telling us this is what you think is a great location for it may be sufficient to get somebody to act. It may not be sufficient. I don't know. But it's definitely, it doesn't look good on the fence. I don't know who made that decision, but we need to get it back in a marker in a place where it's visible and people can appreciate it, because it doesn't make this project any easier if we have people that see it not being treated the way it should be. And we respect our donors. So hopefully by the next meeting, we can say that we've actually gotten together with people. Do you want me to talk to Mr. Klein directly, or do you want me to go up to Ted Simon, or what?
No, I want you to talk to Cameron.
Okay,
That would be my preference.
okay.
Have we moved past the language on the aviation high school wording? Are we beyond that now?
What do you mean beyond it?
Well, I mean, is this?
It's not designed, it hasn't been gone through the design person who's going to be the one who ultimately, so there's a certain number of words that are allowed there. The design person takes text and changes it around.
Okay, because there's something important that's missing.
Okay.
Okay, and it says here that this is the text by Doug Thompson. This was, when Aviation High School was being closed, the school district wanted to sell the entire site. And there was a big fight in the community whether the entire site was going to be sold, whether it was going to be leased, or whether a portion of it was going to be preserved. And I believe it was AA and BB on the ballot. And BB was to preserve certain portions of it, like the track, the auditorium, some of the other buildings. And that's not reflected in this language by Doug Thompson. I think it's really important that we put that in there, because the reason why there's a track and there's the Performing Arts Center and other buildings is because 2 more people voted for BB that preserved that over AA. And that is the only reason why we have those facilities there, because 2 more people got out and voted than did the people who wanted to just sell it all with AA. So I think that's really important that we put that in there, that the people preserve, the people voted to preserve, those facilities, not, the school district, because the school district wanted it leveled completely.
I don't think we said school district in there as far as that.
I know, but it's missing, it just kind of sugarcoats it. It's like vanilla ice cream. The school still has a presence, a footprint in the community. Well, what does that mean? The community saved what remains there and what's being used as a public facility. And it wasn't the district, it was the voters who did
Okay,
that.
well, I will convey that to Cameron. He's the one who ultimately decides what gets sent to
Okay.
the designer.
Okay,
Although
Raymond,
I did research the 1984 election, and I because you brought that wonderful Henry Blood poster into the museum. And I think it was a bigger vote than 4 votes.
2.
No, I mean, even 2 votes, I think is a larger number.
2.
Well, I'll show you the
Me
results.
and my dad went late to the polls and voted.
Stuffed it many times. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question, concern. And hopefully we'll get that all taken care of in that. And because it doesn't require any action from this body, it should be moving a lot quicker. And I will check with the Community Services Director and find out what we can do to expedite it. And because we do have a poll that's ready to go.
Sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, but we'll, if you want, next week we can, or the weekend, we can talk about, go down to Cecil Lagoon area and I'll show you a bunch of the places.
I'll send you an email, then you can respond what time and things.
Okay, and I'll send you also the pictures of some of the locations. Okay, great. Going back to committee reports. Okay, Wilderness Park State Landmark Designation Committee. That was Commissioner Klinger's project. You were working with them on that, weren't you? Was there anybody else working with you guys?
Well, he may have been working also with the Rexham Park because I believe when they had their Earth Day open house type at Wilderness Park, he did say something about that. I could verify that.
Well, I know which commissioner you're talking about.
Yeah,
Valvarigos, but
exactly, yes.
what I'm hoping, I actually wrote to Commissioner Klinger to ask him what the status is and what he wants done with it. But since you were on that committee, it would seem that it might be good for you to be the person that it falls to go to the next level. I don't think he's presented it to the council yet. I don't know if he's gotten on board with all the people there, and he may still want to do it himself.
Right.
But I'm going to at least be able to say that, hey, talk to Commissioner Worstadt about it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Then we have in March 11th, the Redondo Beach History Day. Is anybody willing to step up to be the person that coordinates that? Okay. And the April 29th birthday celebration. Anybody want to coordinate that?
I do.
Okay, great. And I believe your city councilman is the person that's expressed interest from the city. So District 1, you should reach out to him and see if he has thoughts about it. I don't know what obstacles you're going to run into with the city as far as what kind of food and drink you can have, but that's something that you may want to explore with him as well and see if there's something that he has over there. And then we have the Art of Cesar Hernandez for June 16, 2023. That's Commissioner Cullen, who's going to be talking to the person in San Diego. You said something about getting a tent for the event. So do you need that to be part of a budget thing as well at some point?
No.
Okay. Great. Any public comment on any of the committee reports?
There are no public comments.
What?
There are no e-comments.
No Zoom comments either? Okay, can I get a motion to receive and file these committee reports?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Commissioner Zaremski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, so those are received and filed. And now we move to item K, members, items and referrals to staff. And having looked at last month's meeting online, I'm going to start from my left this time because I started from the right the last time. So, Mr. Cullen, anything for referrals for staff?
Well, the key issue, if we can get Gary, some input on whether we can all have access, whether it's a lockbox or whatever. I think it'll make it easier for us to, man the museum on the weekends if it's just easy to go there and, not have to call in advance or, search high and low for a key. Easy access means it's going to be open, on a more steady basis. What about the computer? Are we getting the computer for the museum? And a printer and a scanner? I mean, we talked about that before. Can we just go to Home Depot not Home Depot, but Office Depot and get that and set it up? Yes, no?
I haven't gotten an answer on that question.
Okay.
They, and I haven't gotten an answer about the Wi-Fi either.
Okay. Let's see.
I know they're working on the Wi-Fi.
Okay.
It's a matter of, I think, finding a location where there's connectivity close enough that the museum can use that. Otherwise, if they have to trench.
Hey, there's a power line, right, going over the dog park, right?
I don't know if that's.
They're putting those, satellites over on those, electrical towers at Prospect and 190th. Maybe that's an option, maybe. Okay. The other thing was the Morale House. If maybe we could get staff to come back at our next meeting and give us some idea what the situation is with the Morale House, why it is that the society seems to have exclusive control over that building. It's a public facility.
Well, they have a contract with the city.
Well, okay, so can we see that contract? Can we get that, as part of the agenda packet for our next meeting? I'd like to see it. It just seems as though that facility is always closed when it should be open. And if it's because people, feel that they don't want it open or they're preserving it, for whatever reasons, I think if we're going to be opening up the museum more, then that facility should also be opened. And so if we could get a copy of the contract, because I can tell
I'm
you.
sure that's a public record. I could
Okay.
share that with you. But don't you think they have the same problem that you guys have?
No, because, I don't think that we have a contract with the city for the museum. So
Oh, I
if we,
see what you're saying.
yeah, it wasn't as if the members of the Historical Society were the only ones involved in getting that building to the location where it is now. Those of us, back in the 80s and 90s, we walked, we worked to get the house preserved because the bulldozer was within feet of the front deck of that house on Catalina Avenue when the city decided that we were going to preserve it. And I remember the night that we all walked over with the house. It was towed up Diamond Street and down the backside of Burl and onto the small park on 190th. So I'd like to see the contract. I think that facility needs to be open more. It needs to be made more available to the public. It's not a private, club where they get to decide, who goes in and who doesn't go in. So I'd like to see that agreement on the next agenda. So if you can get it, I would appreciate that. Okay, we talked about the computer, the cabinets in Cesar Hernandez, we've talked about that. And in terms of like the trellis work that needs to be repainted over there, is that just something, you could make a call to Public Works and ask them to get that painted, to freshen it up a little bit, or,
Well, I did.
Oh, what'd they say?
Well, there's a work order for it.
There is? Okay. For the fence or just the trellis work?
Well, I think just the trellis, because they told me they said what they said about the fence.
Okay.
I'll have to check. And also, I'm having I'll check on that.
Okay, all right. And I think that is, oh, the bathroom. What's the situation with the bathroom in the museum? Is it not working? Is it not ADA, compliance? I'm hearing crickets.
Oh,
Jackie, you seem to know something about it. Okay, just spill the beans. What's going on?
I think maybe you want to agendize that for the next meeting.
The bathroom?
Yeah, because it's between two restricted spaces.
Okay.
So if you think it's important that we need to change our policy on letting it only be used for staff, and actually have a sheet of paper that says no one is supposed to go in the bathroom, except for people that work there. But if you want to agendize it,
Yeah,
let's make it an agenda
Okay,
item.
so yeah, so I would make a motion that we put that on the agenda for the next meeting. The issue of, public access to the bathroom in the museum. So that's my motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay.
And any discussion? Okay, so we're going to agendize opening that bathroom up for the general public. Okay?
And what was the document that you referred to?
Oh, it's in the docent handbook, which actually has the acquisition policy. But it also has the last line and I assume I have it. It says restroom, and it's no public access, staff, volunteers only, direct to use park restroom. So if you don't have it, I'll give you a copy.
No, I found that.
Who wrote that?
Well, and
I
it's
would assume it's Pat Dreisler from the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
Is that the draft one or is there an official one?
That is, that draft that's the official part of it that's been there for years. Kelly just did some nice graphics on it, but it's the old one.
I mean, it's been approved by somebody?
Yeah, it's been in place remember we talked about the hierarchy of stuff? This has been one of those policies that's been in the hierarchy for a long time.
When something gets approved, you take draft off it, right?
No, well, no, she's drafting a new manual that's based on the old manual. So the old manual is still in effect. This is if you pull the old manual up that we've had, and Kelly should have a copy because that's where the new stuff came from. That's in there as well.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you because I have had discussions with Pat Dreisler on it, that she was pretty insistent on it. So, but I think it's great. Did we take a vote on it yet to put it on our agenda?
No, but I mean, that was my motion and.
I seconded it.
Seconded, okay.
So all those in favor of putting it on the next meeting agenda?
Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so it's will be agendized. Are you done with your list?
Let me see. Yeah, I'm done.
Okay, so on the Morale House, my understanding is a MOU, a memorandum of understanding. It's not a contract. And District 3 is allowed to use it for public meetings, which nobody's done.
Right? Who even knew?
Well, that's why I said it's an MOU. So do you want to agendize discussion of that?
So if we can, that would be my motion to put on the agenda for the next meeting, an item where we talk about the MOU or the contract, regarding the Morale House and public access to that facility. So that would be my motion.
I'll second that as well. Any discussion? Okay. If all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay. If you need me to find out from the clerk's office or from whatever staff person, I can talk to Cameron first if you want me to, and see if I can get my hands on whatever is out there on it.
The actual agreement?
Yeah.
For the MOU? I think I have it.
Okay, great. Then if you have it, then we're fine. Okay. You're done?
I'm done.
Okay. Do you have anything?
All right.
Do you have anything? Okay. Okay, great. So I have a couple things. So I've already returned my key, so that's great. So I'm going to talk about the two budget items that I wanted on this meeting's agenda, but now we'll have to deal with it on the next one. And that is, I'm seeking to have $6,000 of the $10,000 allocation that were received from the city to complete the design and fabrication costs for the old City Hall and Aviation High School Path of History markers. That involves working with Hunt Design and KVO Industries. And the money was partially given to us so that we can spend it on Path of History stuff. So can I get a second to my motion?
A second?
Okay, any discussion from the, okay, so all those in favor of putting that on the agenda for the next meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Okay, so that'll be on the agenda. And Victoria, you're the one who's dealing with it. I had proposed that we allocate up to $750 from our budget to go to the concrete slab and the plaque. Is that's being taken care of already?
Is this for
The Ito family
the
park?
Ito family? I have not received any word about the 750.
Well,
That was what the
she-
motion was for, but then when you said that, hey,
she
there's a
placed the
problem with
order.
it. What?
She placed the order, and Cameron said, we'll find the money.
Okay, well, as I said, I'm happy to put that as an agenda item, or I'm happy to pay for it out of my own pocket. So either way, do I need to make an agenda item to put that on there?
No,
Okay, so it's gonna be taken care of.
yes.
Okay. And then I would like this body to discuss, we had talked about this Patrick Vogel sculpture last month, but I would like the commission to make a recommendation to the council that if they do put any kind of transit sculpture there, that they give us an opportunity to have a red car path of history marker over there at the transit center. So I guess we'll need to agendize that. Okay, so we're going to agendize that. If there's a motion, if there's a second, I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion from the commission? Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, so that's going to be on agendized as well. Where else do we got? So when we were meeting during the pandemic, we used to get a director's report pretty regularly, and that's kind of where you get to tell us what's going on in the city. And if Commissioner Klinger was still here, he's the one who is one of the strongest advocates of finding out what else is going on in the calendar. And if you look at some of the old minutes, there was some discussion about having us get regular calendars. So if there's something like a city birthday or some city celebration and we wanted to participate in it, we would be at least informed in advance. So that's kind of where that went into. I don't know if this, what the sense of the commission is that something we want to agendize and say we want a director report every time, or we don't care, but it also gives our director an opportunity if he thinks there's some issues that we need to throw into the mix, that we can do that.
I don't care.
Okay. Okay, so I guess the answer is we're not going to agendize it then. Budget for next year, what's the timing on it?
I haven't heard.
Okay. Then I'm going to request that we agendize having a request for $5,000 for Path of History markers. Well, okay. Why don't we then agendize having a general discussion about what monies we want to request?
Okay.
It may be too late at that point. I don't know where it is, and I'm surprised that they haven't sent out a schedule yet. But when I talk to Cameron, I'll ask him if he knows where it is. But when I talked to Commissioner Conrad, the Budget and Finance, he said March was the month that they were doing it, or at least starting the process. And it's a weird process the way it is. So Kelly did our thing for last year. So are you making a motion that we agendize having a budget
Yes.
2023, 2024 discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Fernandez, second. Any other discussion from this group? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that'll be agendized as well. I think we have about 5 or 6 items now on the agenda. The other thing, what? The other thing is, since we passed the discussion, the recommendation for the municipal code to be changed, if we can get a status report at the next meeting of what's going on with that proposal. Okay, I'm seeing a nod, so I guess that's a yes.
I mean, my plan is to submit a service request to the city attorney's office and say, this is what happened at the last historical commission meeting. Can you prepare something for a city council meeting? And then we'll see what they say.
Okay, you'll be able to report back to us at the next meeting whether
That
they respond or not.
Whether I got
I
a
mean,
reply or not.
yeah, because we see sometimes with public works, sometimes with public works, you get an immediate response, sometimes you don't, so. Okay. I believe that's all I have. Is there any public comment before I move to the next item on the agenda? Okay, so now we're on the part of adjournment. I need to do 2 things, and I have one particular motion to do. The next meeting of the Redondo Beach Historical Commission will be a regular meeting to be held at 7 p.m. on March 15, 2023, in the Redondo Beach Council Chambers at 415 Diamond Street, Redondo Beach, California. It is the intention of the City of Redondo Beach to comply with the Americans with Disabilities Act in all respects. If as an attendee or participant at the meeting you will need special assistance beyond what is normally provided, the city will attempt to accommodate you in every reasonable manner. Please contact the city clerk's office at 310-318-0656 at least 48 hours prior to the meeting to inform us of your particular needs and to determine if accommodation is feasible. Please advise us at that time if you will need accommodations to attend or participate in meetings on a regular basis. An agenda packet is available 24 hours at www.redondo.org under the city clerk. Actually, before I actually entertain a motion to adjourn, are you guys okay with moving this into the facility over there and take care of how it gets to the museum?
The facility,
Well, even like in the foyer of the city hall, until Public Works, for example, can get it over there and respond. I mean, otherwise it's going to be sitting in this room.
You better get somebody big.
It's on wheels.
I know, but if it tips, I wouldn't want to be around
I'm
it.
not okay with doing that.
Okay, so you're just going to let it sit there?
I'm not going to do anything with it.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn, but I do want to adjourn and you're making your face.
Oh, is it appropriate to, when we adjourn in memory of, for example, Alice DeLong? She's longtime city treasurer. Or do we need to put that on the next meeting's agenda?
No, I was going to suggest that we adjourn in the memory of Sally Tefani, who is a 22-year city employee who actually participated in the Path of History markers and as a contributor, and who was a sponsor of our Vincent Park Lamp of Learning Month thing, as well as a sister of Maggie Healy, who's also a longtime city employee. So that's what I'm going to propose.
And I would also add Alice DeLong, the former city treasurer in the 1980s and 90s. She passed away on January 20th of this year.
Okay, so there's a motion to adjourn in the memory of both Sally Tefani and Alice DeLong. Is there
Yes,
a
that's my motion.
second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay, so we're adjourned in the memory of these two individuals who have a strong connection to the city. So thank you all for attending, and we appreciate it, and we'll talk with next month as well.